And with me this morning is Bruce Fisher and Mike Griffin. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And I'm going to have you guys come up on those microphones just a little bit to make sure that we can hear you, and so you're hearing you, not me. That's the best part. So tell me, Bruce, was this your brainchild of getting this going, or was it just a group, or how did it come about?
I can't take credit for the origination of the idea. It's actually, the founders are up in Winneshiek County.
Okay.
And specifically, they've created a consortium of county organizations that are all aligned with the Clean Energy Districts of Iowa.
Okay.
And they actually provided a coach who worked with the Dubuque Community Foundation to generate interest in our county. We're the 8th county, I believe, 7th or 8th county
okay.
in Iowa to sign up on this particular endeavor.
Mm-hmm.
And we are pleased to be leading this initiative in Jackson County, and we see a real appetite and interest in it so far based on the folks we've talked with.
Very good. Mike, how did you get involved?
I got involved just because I retired from DNR. I was a wildlife biologist for a long time, over 30 years. And the coach knew me because I used to work with her husband, who's a wildlife biologist, and she said, we would like to have somebody from a broad group of people. I got involved, and it's a win-win situation. It's called green, where green meets green.
Okay.
And the economics on it prove that it's the best thing that you can do for your farm, home, or business. And also, the climate change implications are it uses less CO2 into the atmosphere and helps out that way. So
Okay.
whatever side of the fence you're on, it's a win.
A little bit, yeah. Okay, so explain to me what's happening with this.
Well, let me first of all just step back a moment and give you the context for our work and why it's important and why we feel there's a market to it. And it really has to do about change, and we're in the midst of dramatic changes when it comes to energy and power. Some of those changes are impacting our climate, and that's probably one of the driving forces behind Mike and my interest in this. But beyond that, we're seeing a lot of other changes in technology that are driving many important implications for how we produce our energy and how we can steward our environment more effectively with that. And then along with that, we're seeing changes in the distribution model of power. Back in the old days, power plants were big, they were remotely located, and because those power plants could explode or melt down. And in fact, there's a ton of money that goes into then transmitting that power over long distances so that it reaches the consumer. And in fact, we lose about 17% of the power over the course of that transmission. So it no longer makes economic sense to transmit this power because we have technology now that allows us to produce our own energy right where we use it.
Sure.
And then finally, we're appreciating the fact that there are market changes, that many consumers are becoming more and more educated about this, and they realize that we're spending a lot of money on energy that we don't need to be spending. And in fact, that these energy dollars are not benefiting our community. 80% of the dollars that we spend in our energy bills within Jackson County go out of our county and out of our state. And this could be really an important economic engine to drive prosperity in Jackson County if we can own our energy. And that's
even
really
in
what we're about.
even in Maquoketa, where MMAU, I know they're purchasing, power, but we have the ability, to use those engines. So
Yes.
that's also because the purchasing from
Well, I don't know the
Wisconsin.
percentages around how much MMAU produces
Okay.
versus WPS, which is where we get the
That's
bulk of our power.
right.
So,
WPPS.
and they're a Wisconsin organization,
Yes.
obviously. So the 80% number is an overall Iowa number.
Okay, all right.
But it includes many municipal communities.
Okay,
And
okay.
my venture is it's pretty accurate as an estimate for Jackson County.
Sure, okay. And obviously locally, and I know Bellevue too, is looking at ways to making sure that they're doing things, on an economic value and making it work as much
Absolutely.
as they can, so.
And that's one of the key points about the Jackson County Energy District. Those savings that we have that we can do, one of our projects is LED lights. That's a 70% savings for anybody that's using it over the life of that bulb. And that money will be spent here. It doesn't go out to other places.
Sure, I hear what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
Mike suggested one of our early initiatives, and that's the Porch Light Project. And this is something we'll be talking more about at the KMAQ Farm and Home Show. But our endeavor is to really enable everybody in Jackson County to illuminate their porch, front and rear porch, with an LED bulb.
Okay.
And presuming we have roughly 8,000 homes in Jackson County, we've calculated over a 10-year period, if everybody switched over to LED bulbs for the front and/or rear porch light, we would be saving over $500,000 in 10
Wow.
years. And that's money that stays in the Jackson County economy. It can be a tremendous source of rejuvenation and prosperity if we can keep those dollars in our county.
Okay. So you're going to have
Dad.
information at the Farm and Home Show next week. That's really great.
We're
Glad
giving
that-
away light bulbs.
Are
LED
you?
light bulbs for
Okay.
everybody that promises to use them on their porch.
There you go. Oh, great. Now you know to do that. Well, we appreciate you coming and having a booth, and there more information on that. Of all of this, you'll have, I'm sure, some pamphlets and, things
Absolutely.
like that.
We'll have some handouts. We're going to have a couple radio spots as well.
All right. Yeah, that works out well, too. We'll appreciate that.
Yeah.
When we're talking about this, who all is involved in this? Is it a committee? I know it says a district, but,
We have a board of
Okay.
directors, and there are 7 of us, and we were chosen to represent diversity in terms of our occupations, in terms of where we live, in terms of our gender, and all of that. And in fact, we have reps from Springbrook, Mike.
okay.
I'm from Monmouth. We have Vicki Putman, who's from Bellevue. We have Jan Kaler, who's from
Maquoketa, right?
Megan Andreessen, also from Maquoketa. And we have Bill Hainstock, who's from Delmer. So we have 7 members that really were recruited to contribute
Okay.
as leaders of this initiative.
And this is part, as you said, kind of the Dubuque group, right? Kind of
Dubuque
started
has
this.
its own energy district.
Okay.
Their county
And they
has one as well.
kind of just initiated that they would like to see Jackson County have its own. Is that what I'm saying?
It would be the Dubuque Community Foundation,
Okay.
which relates really to the Jackson
Yes,
County
it does.
Community Foundation.
Okay.
So they were the driving force. They funded the coach that has
Okay.
supported us in this
Okay.
effort.
All right.
But Dubuque does have its own energy district.
Okay. So what does the coach do?
The coach empowered us with her knowledge. She's been involved in starting up energy districts,
Mm-hmm.
and she's helped us understand the resources that can be made available to us to help us fulfill our missions.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those are things like Green Iowa, AmeriCorps, which does home energy efficiency audits and such. So we're hoping to leverage her network. We also partner with her on lobbying efforts as we go to the State House to try to engineer some more progressive thinking in
Yeah.
how we treat renewable energy with this.
Sure, exactly. So, and also just to backtrack just a bit, but the LED light bulbs, before we used to see, and I can't think what those called, the squiggly ones. Those fluorescent, yeah, those little fluorescent ones. Those are the ones that we were told, hey, use those. But then they were kind of concerned about putting those in the landfill, I think, right?
They're full of mercury.
Yeah,
They are
okay.
very energy efficient, yes,
Yeah.
but they do have that downside with mercury.
Okay. So the LED light bulbs are the better of the two, maybe?
Much more efficient, even
Okay.
than fluorescent, and
Okay.
No toxic qualities to them,
Okay.
to my knowledge.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
Even better, yeah. So that's something to be thinking about for your home, right? To
Home and
to do
business and
that.
farm, all
Yeah,
of it.
all of it, okay.
And when we get rolling a little more, then we are going to try to, one of our initiatives is that we will provide low-income housing with an LED or with an energy audit.
Oh,
But we
okay,
haven't got that rolling yet.
Sure.
But that's gonna be part of the Jackson County Energy
Okay.
District. And we could go in there and say, we could, if you change this over and change this over, and there
Yeah.
is a lot of grants that people can
Yes.
apply for
there are,
on
yeah.
this. And we can save those people money, and then we can also show people that can afford
Yeah.
it how to do an audit on their own house or farm.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
farms are one of the big targets here too, because if you can produce your own energy or change over and cut your electric bill by 70%, that's money in your pocket.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the way we all want to save money. That's how that's just a natural. And if
Absolutely.
there's ways that we can do it ourselves rather than having to depend on someone else to do it, that makes a big difference too, doesn't it?
I couldn't agree with you more, Sherry. It's such a practical approach here because it makes sense for us in terms of consumers.
Yeah.
Let's buy what, we get the greatest value for.
Sure.
And at the same time, by golly, we're doing some good things for our environment too.
Yeah, I think it kind of goes back to, I remember my dad talking about, things that he did, as a young man, in the 40s and such, and it's not that different, the mindset.
I would agree.
Is not that much difference, of doing things on your own and for yourself and what you can do. So it's 9:45. We got to take our break for the network as well as a couple sponsors. We'll be right back. We're talking with Bruce Fisher and Mike Griffin, and we're talking about the Jackson County Energy District. And Mike, you were telling me during the break, this is pretty new. You guys have just kind of gotten together just for a few months.
That's right. We were approached in September, and we had a small meeting, and it came about, and we had 6 of our board members that accepted at that time, and then we picked up another one since then. But that the committee or the board is the most energetic board I've ever worked with. I've worked with a lot of the nonprofits around here, but there is nothing that when you have a meeting, they assign some stuff and it gets done right away. Okay. And it's very, very energetic, and everybody has a good heart about what the goals of our energy district are.
And so with the district itself, do you have members? Do you just have the board? How does this work?
We are developing a membership roster.
Okay.
And those would be people who have contributed financially to our cause at this point.
Okay.
We have both membership for individuals, and we're also working on membership for businesses, particularly businesses that we find some opportunity to collaborate with, contractors, electricians, home energy folks. All of those are the types of people we would want to be involving as a business member. But we would encourage anybody in our community, and it only would take $1 to be a member if you want to contribute. Nice. And then you partner with us on all our initiatives. We'd be excited to have the help.
Gee, maybe you can figure out a way to make radio towers more efficient. We got one of those. It's kind of tall and it takes a lot of energy.
You could put a windmill on the top of it. That would work.
The FCC might not like that, but, well, who cares? No, I'm kidding. So tell me some of the projects you're thinking about.
Well, our first project is the Porch Light Project, and I referred to that. You'll learn more about that at the Farm and Home Show, we hope. Beyond that, though, one of our big initiatives is going to be, I'll say, putting on a series of probably energy breakfasts or little workshops or seminars that can help the people of Jackson County understand and appreciate the opportunities that are available to them in terms of energy efficiency and local renewable energy. Okay. So we'll have programs on things like investing in solar, how you can make it work in your home or business. We'll have a program around electric cars. I own an electric car, and they're a lot of fun to drive. They're also incredibly efficient and economical. We'll talk about how we can support priority populations with regard to energy efficiency audits and LED retrofits. We're working to define the groups that we want to focus on right now, but our instincts are that we're going to be looking at veterans and seniors who are in the lower income range, and we'll be writing grants to see if we can support their efforts to reduce their energy dollars.
Oh, very good. Yeah, that's really essential.
Mike, what else have I forgotten?
And in Bellevue, Chris Lampe of Lampe's True Value has changed his whole business over to LEDs, and he's been keeping track of that. And we do have I've got one that they did up there, but just an LED, just changing over from LED lights, they last 13.6 years. The cost in that 13.6 years at 12 cents a kilowatt is $14.69 to run that one bulb. If you change it over to, if you compare that with an incandescent bulb, that's $98.19 to run that. The cost savings are in there. And there's been many deals, and Chris is keeping track of this, so he's really a champion for it. But he's saving himself, I can't remember what his numbers are, but it could be as much as $20,000 to $30,000 a year.
Oh, I would imagine, if it's based on those numbers, for sure.
I do have the numbers from a place in Marquette, Iowa that did it, and they saved $904 a month. Okay. And the payback for the initial project cost $24,000 to put in, and it's paid for itself in 10.4 months.
It doesn't take very long for a payback, is it? I mean, because when you go into the hardware store or wherever and you see the LED lights and you see that they're, quite expensive, but you can't really find a regular bulb anymore.
It's getting harder, thank goodness.
Yeah.
True, but I mean,
and the price of the LEDs is coming down with technology, just the same as electric cars. Is the cost and the technology is out there, so average people could use it.
Yeah, absolutely. But I found that interesting that, the regular ones are kind of on the very bottom shelf, and there might be 6 of them or whatever, but, you know, they're still gonna be $3 maybe or more.
They were going to be taken out of circulation,
Yes.
but they were recently inserted back into
Yeah, I
circulation.
see
for,
that, yeah.
I guess political purposes.
Probably so, I don't know, but yeah. So either one, I mean, you know, the LEDs are probably, you know, are obviously, as you said, you know, a little bit more energy efficient and cost effective than even the fluorescents.
It is, and
You
in
know.
fact, we have businesses in our community. Walmart just last year redid their whole store with LED.
Ah,
and
okay.
They're saving thousands of dollars every month on their energy bill
Interesting,
doing that.
yeah.
I know that the Maquoketa Art Experience is now exploring the opportunity to retrofit their facility with LED bulbs, and we're hoping we can find some grants to help them out.
So LEDs, I mean, I've seen them, you know, just in the bulb, regular bulb, you know, but do they make them like, you know, for fluorescent lights, you know, I mean,
Oh,
with their
yes.
LED light,
Yeah.
LEDs?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You can retrofit any kind of fixture.
Any kind of fixture, okay. And do you have to do very much for that, like in your home, for example? They just, you know, screw into your light, or
That's all
into
it
your,
takes.
into your lamp or
Yep,
whatever.
Just make sure you got the same size,
Yeah.
screw, and it works
Yeah.
right just fine, and it's nothing more than taking out an old bulb and putting in a new one.
Okay.
For businesses, it's a bit bigger.
Well,
deal.
yes, that's a bigger,
Yeah,
a
they
bigger,
need,
a
they
bigger
need
project,
different
yeah.
fixtures.
Are the wattages the same, for example, if you know, have a 60-watt, you know, bulb on something, whatever it might be, and then what's an LED
Well,
equivalent? Then
wattage
does
is
it
actually
say?
a power thing, and that's
Okay.
what a watt is the amount of energy it takes to raise one centimeter of water to 1 degree, 1 calorie. So wattage is we're used to it.
Yeah,
So what the LED lights will say on them is 100-watt equivalent.
okay,
So it gives off the same amount of light as that, but really that's only a 7-watt bulb.
okay.
And that's where the power savings is.
That's the thing, is look for that equivalent.
Right,
then,
the
'cause
equivalent, if you
yeah.
knew you had a 100-watt bulb, then you go to the equivalent
Yeah,
of that.
okay, because, you know, many of our lamps and other electric things will say, only put in a 60-watt,
Yes.
you know, bulb or something, and so, I don't know, I mean,
That's
you don't
because
wanna
of the heat,
overdo it.
Sherry.
Yeah,
And the heat is generated, and one of the byproducts of power
Yeah.
is heat. LEDs give off little to no heat,
okay,
so.
so it won't hurt to
No.
get a different kind, for that, all right. Okay, because you don't wanna have fire in your house.
No,
Yeah, the LED bulbs, they don't give off heat, but if you ever put your hand on an incandescent bulb, you'll
Oh,
burn your hand.
yeah, no
Yes.
kidding.
So you could put the equivalent 100-watt LED bulb in a fixture that really was only designed for 60 watts.
Yeah.
If you wanted more illumination in your home.
Sure, sure. And that's what it is. The LED also, if I recall, from, you know, having them, you know, is that, you know, they put out just as much light. It's not like that, you know, lower, softer light or whatever that, you know, you can't do anything with.
There are a variety of different types of light that LED can emit.
Yeah,
Some of them are more of a blue hue,
yeah,
and which is a bit harsher for some folks.
Yeah.
That UV is kind of embedded in it, I think.
mm-hmm,
Other LED technologies offer a softer tone, so you can
Yeah.
adapt your bulb to the
Yeah.
use of it. You know, the porch lights, we want it to be a brighter light.
that's right.
But in some, more interior applications.
Yeah,
can
then you
imagine.
don't necessarily, but if you're reading, you might want something a little bit more, yeah. So these are just things to really look for
Absolutely.
whenever you're going to get this. Okay, so what's your long-term vision?
Our vision is simple. It's a long-term vision. By 2050, we are pursuing 100% clean, locally generated energy.
Okay,
So that all the energy that Jackson County uses is locally generated, and it's renewable,
Okay.
wind and solar. We're really initially here pushing solar. We've got some resources and some ideas around how we can leverage solar within our communities, both at the farm and the business and even the homeowner level. But wind is part of the equation too, and
Yeah.
we're looking to find out more about wind and how we can bring those resources to the county.
really, because we have a lot of wind in Iowa.
yeah, yes, we do.
Iowa is the 7th windiest state in the nation.
I believe it. We have a lot of hot wind in Des Moines, but you know, that's different. So, are you working with MMEU also to talk with them about what they can do, or?
We're
you know,
just
in this-
beginning that
okay.
conversation. We are lucky in that we have 2 MMAU board members on our board.
Yes.
Jan Kaler and Megan Andreessen. So we have a great dialogue there. We haven't yet approached them with grant requests or specific partnership opportunities,
Okay,
but it is fully our intent to do so.
Okay.
And there's a natural alignment between municipal utilities and the energy district,
Yeah.
as well as with RECs in the energy district.
Okay.
So we want to be
Okay.
reaching out with those folks and finding ways to partner.
Sure, I understand. And as new business, like for example, the hospital is probably one you'll probably be looking at to suggest some ways that they can, reduce their energy. Although they're not the MMU district, the state sets those districts. By the way, if you're listening today, if you might not understand, the hospital didn't pick to go with Maquoketa Electric, or is that right? Not Maquoketa Electric, REC, Alliant, yeah. They didn't pick that. The state has districts, and so they're not in the MMU district. So that's why I don't know if that's been explained to folks or not.
No,
but,
you're exactly
yeah.
right, though, and I would say it's interesting in that the amount of investment in our real estate that we're making in the county, whether it's the hospital, the prospective jail, we have the agricultural center that
Yes.
we're looking at. All of these represent terrific opportunities to make a long-term investment that will offer a great return for those
Yeah.
organizations. So
Sure.
we don't hear solar and wind being part of their conversation. We hope to enter into that with them
Okay.
and provide them with the economic models that suggest,
Pretty
go this
much.
way, it's gonna
Yeah.
make you money.
Have you thought about this? Yeah, exactly. We're out of time here. Thank you very much for coming in. Don't forget, stop by their booth at the Farm and Home Show next week. Get a light bulb if you want, get some information, and go from there. All right, thank you.
Thank you,
All right,
Sherry.
thank you.
Tomorrow on Just Talk, Terry Cregan will be